I may never have to buy jars again. And that's saying something because we can a lot here in our home. Imagine getting free jars for life just for buying your groceries. That's basically what I'm doing now. This year, we've had a hard time finding enough jars to keep up with our canning. We can a lot of food, but there's been a canning shortage, a canning goods shortage. Hard to find jars, hard to find lids and rings. Everything's been hard to get. There's so many new people getting into canning, and they had some of the plants shut down for the COVID earlier this year. But now, that's all fixed, and I'm pretty ecstatic about it. This is pretty cool. Hi there, this is Jordy from Northern Homesteading, helping you to be successfully self-sufficient. Alright, so here's what we did. I spent forever searching online and forever going on through the Facebook groups and the canning groups, and I found something pretty neat here. Now, I know that you can reuse jar lids already. I already knew that. That these lids, they say one-time use, but I can reuse them generally about 4 or 5 times. Well, reuse 4 times. I can use them about 5 times. And it's as simple as taking that lid, boiling it in some water. As soon as it gets up to a boil, all I gotta do is take that lid and put it right on the jar. Keeping it hot. As long as that lid gets hot, the rubber sealant under there, not technically rubber anymore, but the sealant on the edge of that lid, as long as it gets nice and hot, it kind of relaxes a bit and gets back to its original form. And if it stays hot while I put it on there and tighten down the ring around it, then it reseals quite well. And I'll get about 4 reuses out of that lid. As long as you keep it clean, keep it hot while it's putting on, and make sure that there's no nicks or dents around the edge of the rim. But what I'm even happier about is now I have a way to get jars without even having to buy them. Kind of. And that's like these ones right here. These are dollar store produce in glass jars. Now, you might be able to see there's no labels on these anymore. Well, that's because a month ago when I bought these, I ran right home, opened them up, closed them, and popped them in my pressure cooker to try recanning them. I wanted to see how good the seals on the lids would work. Well, they resealed. It's been a month now, and they're still perfectly sealed. So this seems to work, reusing dollar store jars. It's incredible. These are just $1, and I mean, I'm buying food anyways quite often. I can go and buy a jar of applesauce, and I get applesauce. Then I get the jar with it that's apparently fine and functional for reusing for canning. Now in here, did some canning last night and just let it set in the pressure cooker to cool down. Yep, that smells like pot roast. Now this is the pot roast that we had for dinner last night, canned the leftovers. This one is a reused lid on a regular ball jar, just a regular mason jar. And this one was a jar of applesauce that I bought a month ago from the dollar store. I recanned it already. I opened it up, got it up real hot, heated up the lid, boiled the lid, put it back on, and I put it in the pressure cooker for about 20 minutes. And that I did a month ago. Now last night I recanned it with the same lid. We opened the applesauce back up a few days ago and started eating it. Last night I washed it out and recanned it with that same lid. And it's been almost 24 hours now and the seal is still perfect. So basically, if after 24 hours it's still sealed, you got at least a year out of that seal before it goes bad, in my experience. So these 3 jars right here, these 2 were recanned once. This one was recanned twice now, and all 3 of them are holding up well. Now, so far I've got 2 reuses out of these jars, out of this one anyway, 1 reuse out of these other 2, out of my pickles and my mushrooms here, and I've got 2 reuses out of my applesauce jar. But the lady who first told me about this said that she usually goes 4 reuses out of these dollar store jars and lids, and that at that point she usually tosses them, because once she goes to the 5 use, she starts noticing the occasional seal that doesn't hold, and just that's not something she's willing to risk at that point. But for the people who have reused these store-bought, well, all jars are store-bought, I guess, but who've used these pre-filled produce jars, about 4 reuses is what you should expect to get out of them. And that makes sense, because that's a total 5 uses if you count the first canning that was done before you went and bought the darn thing. And we get the same amount of reuses out of these things. Standard mason jars with your mason jar lid is about 5 reuses maximum. So these are all both about to the same level of hardiness for canning. I was a little cautious at first. It seemed to me like maybe the cheaper or the one-time use type jars, they're not made for reusing. They'd be a thinner glass. They might not hold up as well. They might not handle the pressure in the pressure cooker as well. Well, these have done all right so far, and they've been in a full pressure cooker. These have been at 15 pounds in my pressure cooker already. These ones were each for about 20 minutes. This one was for 20 minutes for the applesauce when I recanned its original contents. And then I canned the pot roast in here for about an hour at 15 pounds of pressure. That's some pretty harsh canning, and it's held up to that already. So I'm inclined to say that it's going to keep holding up. It doesn't look like a thinner glass compared to my mason jars. I think it's going to work quite well. So I am going to go back to the dollar store fairly soon here and buy a couple more jars. I think I like these ones better. It was raspberry applesauce, I think, originally. But these are about 1.5 pints jar. They didn't have any actual quarts at this location. I know some of them do have, like, you can get a quart glass jar of spaghetti sauce at some of them for $1. Well, this one had smaller jars of that, and we had, the largest jar was this one, and about about 1.5 pints jar. Which is, I suppose that's functional enough. And, I mean, I got some delicious applesauce and a jar and a lid with it. I'm still amazed at how well these things reseal. I'm so happy about that. It's incredible. And I'm going to go get more pretty soon and try them out again. Well, thanks for watching Northern Homesteading. If you found this pretty useful, and I bet you did, I'd appreciate it if you went and clicked that like button. Let me know and YouTube know that this is the kind of videos you like, and I'll make a mental note of that and try to keep helping you as best I can. Thanks. Bye now.